Hey, what's up, everyone? Just got back a couple days ago from the console couch co-op playtest of Path of Exile 2, and I want to share with you guys my thoughts on it. So what this video is from a Q&A that I did, kind of a walkthrough Q&A on stream. I tried to edit it to kind of have more memorable things that I talk about. It's a little bit scattershot, so it's not really the gameplay focus, but I do go over it a good amount. It's more about me answering questions that people had, trying to have a little bit of a different conversation that you might find from different content creators, just to have my opinions and my thoughts on the design decisions there. As I was reviewing the footage, I do note that the gameplay is a little bit louder than I would like versus my voice. I tried to adjust that a little bit, but it is what it is. You should still be able to hear what I say. The really quick of it, if you don't want to watch the whole video, is I am very excited for PoE 2. The first two playtests, I was kind of like warming up to it. The first one, I was like, I don't know. Then the second playtest, I was more optimistic coming out of it. I was still worried about the balance and all that, the actual feel of the game. And this one, particularly with the co-op, I genuinely am very, very excited, and I want PoE 2 to come out, and I think it's going to blow everyone away. I really think you guys are going to love it. Also, an extra treat, a couple hours after I post this video, later tonight, I have to render it all because it's going to be really slow. It's 4K footage. I'm going to upload about 30 to 60 minutes, somewhere between that. I don't know exactly how long. 30 to 60 minutes of late Act 2 gameplay. I know other people have uploaded earlier Act 1 to maybe early Act 2 gameplay. I got a little bit further into Act 2 than some of the other groups, and I had a very unique playstyle with my partner where we had a support monk that was debuffing the enemies. They were casting Despair and using the Shockwave Totem from Warrior and Witch. So we had some really cool, unique synergy with our team. So we did some cool things that I think you won't see other people doing exactly. We kind of had our own flavor on how we played. So that will be a full commentary-free 4K footage upload that you can just kind of immerse yourself in the gameplay and see what that gameplay looks like. So without further ado, enjoy this video. If you have any further questions, feel free to ask in the comments. I will try to answer everything that you guys ask. And if you want to check out the full commentary-free footage, get subscribed, and I'll be posting that in a couple hours. All right, enjoy. Thanks. So the really cool thing here is that you get access to the rebinding. I don't know if we're going to be able to see the rebinding interface. This is like a third to half of the way through Act 2. This is also where we start running into very, very hard monsters. Act 1 starts kind of slow and difficult and a little plotting. And then by the end of Act 2, we had builds that were incredibly strong and synergized. Like, we had a combo set up that we could kind of like 2 or 3 tap them. And it was pretty sick. So I played a ranger, and Sailkite played a monk. And then I went all into poison skills. The poison skills are really cool, and I think really well designed. I don't remember the names of them, so I'm just going to call them by whatever the heck I want to call them. So there is Poison Arrow. It's basically just a regular poison arrow. It shoots 1 arrow. It poisons the enemy. There's basically Toxic Rain. A plant will go on the ground, and then it will actually shoot out a tether, and it will attach to an enemy and slow them down. And each plant can tether to 1 enemy. It's only a 1-to-1. So you can't like stack plants to do more damage or anything, but it'll tether to 1 enemy and then do damage over time to that 1 enemy. And I believe it will poison as well, maybe when the plant expires, something like that. I primarily use that as a slow move. And then there is the Giga move, which is the exploding pods. It's basically like Scourge Arrow, but if Scourge Arrow had Explodey built in. Not just like, oh, I'm shooting out different little extra arrows. No, it's like Scourge Arrow pods that do like explodey, like real explodey. And then there's a support gem that's called like Plague Carrier or something. Or if you poison the enemy, you also put the plague on them. And then if they die with the plague and the poison on them, that will then do an additional physical damage explosion. So I had the pods exploding, which put a plague on them, which when they died, they would explode in a physical damage explosion. That combo was insane, and it felt really good. Yeah, really good built-in poison prolif and AoE explosions. Then what Sailkite did is he played a monk. The idea behind monk is you palm dash in, and then you do a couple moves to like build power charges and combos, and then it'll activate your other skills. And you can get other skills. We'll talk about the bell in a second. You can basically like charge up your skill, and they can combo on top of each other. You can have 2 different combo starter moves which one will give you bigger AoE and a power charge, and then the other one will lightning charge all of your additional abilities. Then you could do the whirlwind ability, and the other combo stuff that you did earlier would channel into that, basically the activator. If you had everything kind of funneling into it, you could do like this big whirlwind that shot like these gigantic lightning arcs throughout the screen and everything. We actually played in a way that Jonathan didn't even expect. We got debuff skills from other classes. Basically, the idea is the bell, he has to set up a combo to be able to drop the bell. And then the bell, I don't know if it reflects damage or if it just had its own base damage, but any hit that hit the bell would make the bell do an AoE, like basically like a shockwave totem hit in a big AoE. And the thing is, any hit would do it, and it had no cooldown. You would put the bell down, I would throw a bunch of pods there, and then I would explode my pods, and the bell would just go brrr, and then everything around it would die. It was a really, really sick combo. But Jonathan was like, yeah, I didn't think that the pods could activate that. So yeah, maybe nerfed. Okay, and yeah, that was basically the loadout where Sailkite would go in, get aggro, set up his combo, drop the bell, and yeah, let's show it. Let me know if the volume is okay or what have you. I don't remember exactly what there is one zone. Oh, also kind of an annoying downside right now. This is like the toxic rain plant, and then these are the pods that explode. Jonathan really wants everything in the world to feel real and have collision. That's a simple way to say it. So currently, when I throw these pods in the plant down, he doesn't want phasing in anything. Yeah, he wants everything. Yeah, this is what it's like when everything collides. He wants everything to have collision. And so currently, if I throw all my pods and my plants down, it like locks in Sailkite as well. Luckily, he has a teleport palm that he can get out. But yeah. Yeah, these are the plants. They will link to the enemies. That's the pods and the bell. And then, yeah, you can see I'm activating the bell. And then every time we hit the bell, it does that AoE attack. You can see the little tendril right here, linking to the enemy. He's also chilled, so he's really, really slow. So yeah, you can see a little bit of inventory management. So this is Sailkite on the right. That's his inventory. He can manage it. There's like an in-game wiki with, you can like press in. If you press like the right stick in, you can delve further into the text and it'll tell you, hey, this is what life is. This is what armor is. So there's a little bit of, yeah, additional context there. Yeah, there's a glossary built into the game, actually. But like, hopefully it's pretty clear and obvious. If you saw the previous playtest, this is, like I said, probably like a third to half of the way through Act 2. And our clear is, you know, it's not Keely 1 clear, but it's like, it's decent. And we're sitting here talking and not like trying to go particularly fast there. But like, if you watch the last playtest, every single monster, even by the time we were in Act 2, took like 5 to 10 hits, even every single white monster. And now we actually have like solid AoE clear here. Yeah, I mean, this is Act 2, right? Think about Act 2 clear. Oh, yeah, you can, if someone dies, you can revive them, which is pretty cool. And you can even do it in the middle of combat. And also, a thing that I very, very much loved was they let you rebind things like a lot. You could rebind it literally everything. So by default, the interact and pick up, this was on a PlayStation controller. So when I say, you know, X, square, triangle, circle, you know where I mean, right? So by default, X is the interact button. But as, you know, as a Dark Souls player and a Hades player, to me, X is dodge. And by default, I think they had dodge on circle. That is the objectively incorrect place to put that button. they actually let you rebind it to the point where you can actually have overlapping rebinds. What I did is L2 by default is the bind to go to the second set of skills. So you can hold L2 and then press something else. And it let me change my interact button. So I made it so X was dodge roll, and then L2 plus X was interact or pick up. So the really nice thing with that is I could not accidentally interact. So even if it was still on circle, if I like fat finger a button, I could accidentally interact, which could be annoying if I start channeling a revive in the middle of combat. That's actually what got me to rebind it. I was trying to dodge away, but then I was standing on Sailkite's body and it was starting to res, and I was like, this is the worst. And you can actually change it. I actually went up to Octavian and I was like, can I change that? And he was like, yeah. So I could do that. Also, the potions by default were on the D-pad on the PlayStation. It was left and right. Another thing they did with the potions, which is huge, you'll notice there's just health potion and mana potion right here. This was a huge improvement from the last playtest, whereas previously, right, you had a single button for every single one of your flasks. Not like that anymore. Now there is a macro setup for life and mana flask right here. And what it does is it'll just do your flasks left to right, and it'll go down the line left to right. And that was just really, really nice. And it let you rebind it as well. So I had that bound to square and circle. And I could just, as I'm in combat, I can just hit those both and use my flasks. And it felt really good, actually. There was no problem with that. And you can bind specific flasks. I don't know if anyone ever used any. They had like antidote flasks and, quenching flasks for ignite, stuff like that. They had them. I don't know if, how much they're going to stick to that. This was what the setup looked like. It was really impressive, actually. There was so much. There's Jonathan and Gazzy right there. Individual setups right now. And yeah, we each had PlayStation controllers on big TVs with a couch and everything. It was impressive. Like, they filled up this entire room. I just sat on the very edge of the couch the entire time, like leaning forward. Like, I was locked in. Anyway, gameplay better with the gamepad. It felt really good. I use an Xbox gamepad at home, this is my preferred layout. So I had actually never touched the PlayStation 5 controller before a couple days ago. Is there an auto aim? The aiming was very, I wouldn't say very forgiving, but relatively forgiving. No, all I said is they've shown minions in the past. That's all I said. They've shown Druid with minions before. There you go. You can see the passive tree here a little bit. They've shown this before. This interface is not good. They need to work on this a lot, particularly with controller. It's really awkward. They showed this at the last playtest. They want it so that you get a weapon swap. And the weapon swapping is really interesting. We started looking at it a little bit at the end of the playtest. You can have 2 different weapons, and then you can have skills that will automatically trigger the weapon swap to work with that skill. Your passive tree can also be different. So, for example, you could have a passive tree that goes to the left for staves and goes to the right for bows, points that are flexible there. Press your bow skill, immediately pull out your bow. It'll go to your bow passive tree, use the bow skill, and then you pull out your staff, switches over to the other passive tree, and then you smash them with your staff, which is really, really interesting. Most of the game currently feels, I don't want to say streamlined, but the design is trying to be making sure that like the primary path feels good so far. That's their goal at the moment. The multi-classing stuff, multi-weapon stuff, they're not like really showing it to you, but it is still there. And I think that's kind of where the depth lies at the point at currently that we haven't really been able to explore yet. I think this weapon swapping stuff is like showing that they can increase the complexity here a little bit. Because like what we're playing around with right now, granted we're only in like Act 2, it definitely is a little constrained and a little bit more streamlined and less spiraling out complexity than there is in PoE 1 right now. So here's an example of, you saw when he was standing still, Sailkite grabbed Arctic Armor, which is not a monk skill, and he just tossed that on his character, and since he's usually in melee range kind of standing still, that gave him a lot more defense. The minimap, bringing up the minimap is global. There's also, global portal button, which I accidentally press all the time. How is the loot? The loot is much better. Oh yeah, the item themselves had tiers, which I believe correlates to well-rolled loot. So one of the bosses that we killed, the items that dropped said tier 2 on them. The higher tier loot that dropped, like if it says tier 2 loot, tier 3 loot, that also corresponds to the lower tiers of mods cannot show up on it. So like tier 2 loot can no longer get low tier mana, low tier life. I think it directly means guaranteed better stats. Yeah. Really interesting thing here, the implicits on certain items, particularly like belts right now, that we've seen are very strong. Showing my age? I mean, it's definitely worse than it was 10 years ago. Yeah, like my amulet implicit was something like 36% increased mana regen. And then I rolled another 20% as an explicit, and it mostly solved my mana issues. I only had to use a mana pot. Look how quickly my mana goes up versus Sailkite's. Like, mine's going up noticeably faster than his. So, like, I had no mana issues whatsoever after I got that amulet. How's life being a 40-year-old looking like you're 29? It's weird being treated like a child when you're 40. You don't get that implicit respect. You have to earn it. So they cut on the leech? I mean, we just haven't seen any like real recovery. There's leech in the game though. We had a little bit of leech. I think we both had sources of leech. Is this might be the zone? I don't think this is the zone. With the I want to show you guys the plague nymphs as well. Yeah, the beard will give implicit respect. Yeah. Like just right there. And that's not even me setting up the combo. That's just me kind of like incidentally hitting the bell a little bit. Look how much it goes off. And each one of those is like a big hit. It's like when we set up the full combo, oh man, that thing chunks. Yeah, they still got Solaris and Lunaris right here too. Oh, they gave them a little bit more updated classical look too. And who are these? Interesting. Yeah, like just this background art in the inventory. Like, let's hold on. Let me do this. Let's just compare. Let's look at this. Look at this beautiful images and the art, like just the artwork here and everything, and the character and the decoration around all the little bits, like these little wings here and all that. And look at this. 500 developers worked for 10 years to make this pile of Yeah, this quiver was a nice little upgrade. This is where I got a life gun on hit quiver. And because I'm shooting all those pods, and I think I have chain as well on my arrow. No, I grabbed LMP instead of chain. And this is the cool thing, right? Like we're doing couch co-op. We can do like one person can assign their passive tree. One person can be doing inventory management, or one person can even still be doing combat. I was even able to, like I got the hotkeys down for leveling up my gems and leveling up my, leveling up my passives like really quickly actually. Rares in this game were noticeably meaningful. They had named rares. They had a very specific name. It wasn't an auto-generated name. I could probably find it in the early footage. I can go back to that later. In Act 1, you found this crone, like an old, a witch over a bubbling cauldron, and she had a set name, but she had a yellow name. She was a rare, and she was very, very hard. I'll see it, like we should be able to find it in the footage. She would constantly teleport and leave chilled ground, like damage over time chilled ground everywhere. Killed her, you got like 10 flasks or something, like basically a flask explosion. Might have been like 6, but there's a flask explosion that would just fill you up early on, which was really nice. Was that 2 different encounters? Yeah, there's the carrion crone, and then there's the other one. There's the one that was in the hut. Yeah. But yeah, rares are much harder, and they drop much more loot than everything else. So yeah, when you run into a rare, you immediately know you're in for a fight. And cool thing here is you can actually utilize choke points very effectively. Like right there, I just threw a bunch of pods at the end of the bridge, and then they couldn't walk past them. That's like the cool thing about Collision is you can actually, you know, you're kind of intended to do that with like Ice Wall in PoE 1, but no one does that, right? But at least so far, I found that like choke points and stuff, because I had this move that could inflict a collision on the enemies, it was actually like an interesting way to take the combat encounters. Here's the quarry. I think this is it. This looks recognizable. So, Act 1 was kind of tough. The first half of Act 1 was kind of tough. Then the second half of Act 1 and the first half of Act 2, we were pretty... Oh, yeah. So we saw this in the last playtest. They upped the drop rate of these significantly. You get a ton of these now. You get skill gems, support gems, and reservation gems. There's actually 3 different types of gems. There might even be more. But yeah, skill, support, and reservation gems, they're all different. You cut the gem by picking what you want it to turn into. So it's like a generic gem drop that then you can turn into something else. If you guys have already seen, they removed gem colors entirely. Yes, gem colors are fully removed from the game. So you just make the gems that you want to use, and you just use them. So anyway, up until this point, for like the past 3 hours of gameplay, we basically had not died. Just so you know, we had not died in the past 3 hours. And we're like, yeah, we're so strong, we are immortal, we are godlike. And then we ran into the Plague Nymph. These little fuckers. Sailkite's doing some good dodging here, by the way. And we're back. Time for attempt number 2 on the Plague Nymph. It gets worse, by the way. That one shot, 2 shots. I'm hitting my life flask. They're just chunking the hell out of us right here. And this is the 4K footage, but it looked even better in real life. Like, the game on a big monitor, it is gorgeous. Plague Nymphs equal porcupines? I mean, porcupines don't hurt you if you don't hit them. Yeah, I think it already looks good like this, but man, in real life at the full 4K monitor, it was really, really good looking. Once you have independent aiming and walking, oh man, going back to mouse and keyboard, just like going back to PoE 1 style is tough. I don't know about ultra wide now. And this is where I use the power of projectiles. AoE projectiles from around the corner. They can't hit me. Do you lose the drops when you die? Yes. You do lose the drops when you die. So, yeah, if something's on the ground, you better pick it up right away. All right, here we go. So this was a pretty cool boss fight. So, I set a rule. I wanted to make sure that we both fully experienced the boss fights. We were not allowed to beat a boss without both of us alive. That was my house rule. So if one of us dies, if I don't think I can res, I just throw. Yeah, the boss has a flamethrower. Yeah. Ruja the Dread Engineer. And this is the combo with the bell. And we were doing much more damage than most other teams. Yeah, the boss fights in this game they're really cool. And like you can like the big stagger, like that's such a yeah, we get a double stagger here. So we get the freeze bar right there, and then this is also a stagger meter. So you can build up a stagger and you can freeze them as well. The bell's kind of like a Hydro Sphere type of thing, yeah. So that's a stagger, you knock them back. Knock them down, just rolling around on fire. And then we got a full freeze on her.
Ready for this?
Yeah, kind of Diablo-ish with that, huh? I mean, I think that's not a bad thing in Diablo 4. So here, Sailkite dies. So he didn't know that these poison pods were not my poison. He thought that I just had some kind of poison cloud ability, so he stood in it. So I can't get the res off here. So as per the rule, I decided to just let her kill me after checking out a couple more moves. I'm trying to go for the res here, and then I'm like, can I stick it? Can I stick it? Nope. Standing in burning ground. But I think we get the fight on the second try here. Projectiles don't shotgun. Ooh, that's what barrage is for, though. So you can use the barrage exert, like attack exert, to turn your regular triple attack into a shotgun. If the person is dead, you don't get loot or XP or anything. I don't know if they get XP. You know, we weren't testing that. Yo, Hunter. Oh my God, you'll have to. What happened, Hunter? What did Blizzard do? Nim some T17s. I believe Jonathan did, like, also said that he doesn't really like T17s also. I believe he said that, if I remember correctly. You can see that I have more XP than Sailkite here, because I died less. So, yeah, it looks like you do get XP when you're not dead. Only blue loot? Well, no, here's the thing. Blue loot's good. When you're in Act 1 and 2, you don't mind good blue loot. Like, if you just get higher tier modifiers, like my body armor, at the end of the game, I just had like tier 1 life and tier 1 life regen. Or like, not tier 1, but like higher tier life and life regen. And that was actually a noticeable improvement over the like less good rare that I had. So I am so excited for PoE2 right now. Like, I really want it now. ExileCon, I was like, oh man, I'm worried. I didn't know PoE2 was going to be good. And then at the last playtest, I was like, I'm optimistic. I don't know if I love it yet, but I'm optimistic. Like, the quality's there. This playtest, I wanted to play it more. Like, I just wanted more. I was very sad that I saw the timer was over. That is my first time experiencing that after this playtest.